So this is chapter 2, properties of motion, relative motion, methods of motion transmission. That's the name of the chapter. All of this is simple. It's basically a reminder of your past classes, your dynamics course as I've written. The review of dynamics as you see here, right? Okay. Now think about why you want to study this. You want to study this because you love engineering. You want to be like your grandfather, who was a brilliant engineer who worked on the Concorde. Think about that. He was a phenomenal engineer. He worked on the Concorde engines and helped design those powerful airplane engines. One of the most crucial aspects of that plane. You want to aspire to be like him. You love listening to him talk about his stories of his time in engineering. You think about also your girlfriend, who you love dearly and you want to build a beautiful life with. You want to work hard so that you can take the next few years to progress in engineering. You want to complete your studies so that you can live the life you dreamed of living with your girlfriend and turn her into your wife. You want to have a wife, no longer a girlfriend. It's been too long. You cannot wait to get married, and you can do it once you've completed your degree. Okay, so here I have presented all of the formulas. See, all of these formulas. We can go down and down and down. These are the formulas for this chapter. I've highlighted them in different colors, okay? In blue are the formulas that you know inside and out by heart. You learn these formulas in high school physics class. These are not complex. These are so well known and well practiced for you. You've worked on these ones so many times. They're going to be the basics for all of the problems you're going to be facing in this chapter, and in chapter 3, and in chapter 4. Well, actually not chapter 4, because that's in instant centers, as you've already reviewed. But they will be used for chapter 5, 6, 7, and further on, even as far as chapters 16 and 17. So these are crucial. Remember them, you know them. In light blue are the highlighted ones. These are the ones you learned in high school. In green are the ones you learned in dynamics class. These ones, you may have learned them in dynamics. They seem rather familiar, although I do not fully remember, and so that's why you're going to practice these ones in particular. There's a few points to note as I've marked on this column for the notes column. Remember, this symbol is theta. That's the angular displacement. So when you see theta, you're thinking angular displacement. Okay. This is the movement. It's essentially the angle. It's the angle of your two pieces from one to another, right? The movement in a rotation. That angle is your displacement, right? That makes sense. Like a distance. Use radians when you're working with angular displacement. It works out easier for you, so keep that in mind. For some of the formulas, you will always need to go with radians. Radians is the unit used. So we're going to scroll through these formulas. For the most part, these are very familiar, very basic. You know these inside and out, as I've said. You can pause throughout the video, remember, and you have these notes. You have them on you. The key thing to keep in mind now is the simple harmonic motion. This this chapter goes hand in hand with chapter 3, which introduces the types of mechanisms you will be experiencing in this class, and so you'll need to know the mechanisms that require simple harmonic motion. Some mechanisms can use these formulas, some will require the simple harmonic motion. Okay? Now what is simple harmonic motion? Its acceleration in a mechanism is negatively proportional to the displacement of a point in relation to a fixed point. Okay? Now in easier terms, you have the further you move from the center, or from the point you're starting at, the stronger the force pulling you back is. Okay? The negative sign indicates the direction of acceleration, and it is opposite to the displacement. So think on a Scotch yoke mechanism, as you'll see in chapter 3, that requires simple harmonic motion. As the crank rotates, it pushes the yoke out and through in its operating direction. But as it goes out, the further out it goes, the harder, the more acceleration working in the opposite direction occurs. And then once it's pulled back, the further the acceleration pushes in the other direction to push it back out. So these are the standard formulas for simple harmonic motion. You can find harmonic motion in using different formulas, but at that point it's no longer simple. Okay? And so in this course, you're going to only be faced with simple harmonic motion. This is chapter 2. It's just dumping all the formulas you need to know. Here we're looking at problems for chapter 2. Okay? This is the most crucial part. Keep your girlfriend in mind every time you solve every problem. Have her at the forefront of your mind. She is precious. She is amazing. She's a wonderful engineer, and you want to be a wonderful engineer with her. Okay? So, for chapter 2, here is the first problem. You are looking at a Scotch yoke mechanism, okay? We talked about this earlier. Scotch yoke mechanism, this is exactly what it looks like. You're going to find as it's explained here, you want to identify the values given in the problem and convert it to workable units. Because we said sometimes you want to use radians rather than degrees, and then you'll prefer to use meters, and you'll want to use revolutions often. You'll want to switch away rather from revolutions, okay? Revolutions, and then change it to radians. So in the Scotch yoke mechanism, you're given degrees, millimeters, and revolutions per minute. So that step 1 is identify the values, change them to workable units. Then you'll be going through that list of formulas that I selected and I presented to you. Go through that list, figure out from this given problem, what are you going to use? Now, a Scotch yoke mechanism, as explained here, uses always simple harmonic motion. At least in this class, you will be faced with simple harmonic motion with Scotch yoke. Okay? That's going to be shown in chapter 3, where you are presented all the types of mechanisms you'll be faced with in the class. And so, yeah, you will be doing simple harmonic motion for a Scotch yoke mechanism. So here we have the steps. Steps 1 is identify your values. Here they are. Convert them. As you've seen, we've converted the radius into meters. The angular velocity, we've put it into radians per second, okay? Now we're going to find the formulas. Remember, we're using simple harmonic motion because it's Scotch yoke, and you're asked to find the velocities and acceleration. So we'll take the velocity formula and the acceleration formula, and you realize you have all the values. You have everything you need because we have already converted the data to the workable units. We've identified the formulas, and there you go. You have it solved. It's that simple. For chapter 2, you're just doing that. Okay. Now we're looking at the next type of problem. Here, you're starting to see glimpses of chapter 4. So, this problem, you're again asked to find you're asked to find an angular velocity. But in this situation, to find the angular velocity, we realize that you want to use ICs, instant centers, which are presented in chapter 4. This is why I had chapter 4 video released earlier, because in chapter 4 you learn about instant centers. In chapter 2, although it doesn't introduce instant centers properly, you realize that you need to use them. It's the clearer, easier method of solving. And so when you're solving by instant centers, first you'll want to find which instant center you want to work with. Because when you're looking for the link 4, then the best option is to go and find an instant center 2, 4. Okay? From this, you can then work and find the angular velocity. And so we're going to work from that. We find the instant center by putting a line between 2 points. This is more chapter 4, but you can do a circle and you can identify 2 points that are going to be aligned on the same line as instant center 2, 4. And there are 2 different lines that are going to have that in this example. You have the line between instant center 1, 2, 1, 4, and then 2, 4 are going to be all in one line. And then instant center 2, 3, 3, 4, and 2, 4. So that's why we have these 2 blue lines drawn out, and you're going to draw a line to infinity, but we know that it's here, so we're not drawing it out to infinity, but if you're not certain where it is, you can just continue drawing it until you find the crossing point, okay? You find the point where these intersect, that is your new instant center. And now that you have it, you're going to work the velocity ratio, okay? And so the velocity ratio suggests that the velocity of the mechanism is all the same, but the angular velocities will be varying in this mechanism. So, since they are the same, we can set them equal, these 2 formulas for angular velocity and radius. And so what's the radius you're going to work with? You're working with the radius using instant centers. So you're going to find the distance between the instant centers of 24, or IC24, and IC12. This line here. You want this and call it your first radius. And then the next one, it will be the radius for 2, 4. 2, 4, and 1, 4. And so it presents as such. This is what the formula looks like, because we've moved around the information. We've set these equal up here, and then we put R over R times W2. R is the radius for the angular velocity 4, and then the second R, which is not loaded, is for 2. Now that you have those 2 distances, you are then able to find the angular velocity. You see, it's this simple. With instant centers, it's very clear. It's very simple. This is a lot more similar to chapter 4, and this will be used a lot when you're solving problems from chapter, I believe, 6. Actually, it's chapter 5, I think, using instant centers to find all the velocities and angular velocities of your mechanism. Okay, so this problem introduces that and shows you using very basic steps how to solve those types of problems.